Hello and welcome to a new reading challenge video or vlog. So I've been trying to do these every single month and I'm really enjoying doing them, and this time we're doing something a little bit different. So usually my TBR is a secret just from you and I pick my TBR myself, but this time the secret TBR is a secret not just from you but from me as well. So I actually had Lee pick the 5 books that I'm going to be reading for this particular reading challenge. He's been in my reading room and he's put 5 books in 5 fairy loot pouches, and he has written little post-it notes for me giving me reasons for choosing each of these books, and I'm going to go ahead and find out now what I'm going to be reading. I'm really excited. So this first one says, an interesting synopsis amongst all the others. Maybe the book is as good as the blurb. I did give him access to my Goodreads, so there shouldn't be any books in here that I have already read, and hopefully he won't have picked any, like 3rd or 4th books in the series, but if he has, then I can just go back and pick the first book. So this first one is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. So this one, let me read you the blurb since it's the blurb that made him want to pick it. Will dark magic claim their home? Miriam is the daughter of her village's moneylender, but poverty beckons as her father's too kind-hearted to collect his debts. Then Miriam hardens her own heart and takes up his work. Her success creates rumours she can turn silver into gold, which attract the fairy king of winter himself. He sets her an impossible challenge, and if she fails, she dies. Yet if she triumphs, a fate worse than death awaits. Irina's father schemes to wed her to the Tsar. However, their dashing ruler hides a terrible secret, threatening mortals and winter alike. Torn between deadly choices, Miriam and Irina embark on a quest. It's one that will encompass sacrifice, power, and even love. And this, as far as I know, is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. So, super excited that he's picked this one for me. This time, as you haven't read it yet and it took time to pick the first time around, I'm pretty sure I know what this one is. Pretty sure it's going to be the Travelling Cat Chronicles. Yeah, the Travelling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arakawa and translated by Philip Gabriel. This is a contemporary but told from the perspective of a cat. So the cat and his human go on a road trip and we are reading the cat's observations about his human's behaviour. So I'm really looking forward to this, and I was actually planning on picking this one up in August anyway, which Lee doesn't know, so that's quite funny. Next up we have light-hearted rom-com, one of my preferred genres. Interesting, he's never told me that before. Okay, we have Alex in Wonderland by Simon James Green, which, as the title might suggest, is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, but it's queer and it's about Alex rather than Alice, and he gets a summer job at a theme park called Wonderland, or actually it's an amusement arcade, not a theme park. And as far as I know, it's well, like Lee says, it's a rom-com. This is really fun. Okay, the next one. Fantastic. A book about spiders, a true test of your courage. So this is going to be Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Yes, indeed. Okay, so this is a science fiction story where I believe monkeys are put on a spaceship and sent to another planet, and they are given some sort of medication that makes them sentient so that they can prepare this new world for humans to live on. But something happens and the monkeys don't make it there, but the, should we call it sentience serum, I don't know what it's actually called, does make it there, and so the creatures or aliens that already live on this planet become sentient, and unfortunately they are giant spiders. So this story is a war between humans and giant sentient spiders. I have shivers running down my spine already thinking about it. Now, I've been told by other people who are also afraid of spiders that this is really, really good, but yeah, I'm scared. And then the last one, You're a Strong, Independent Woman. Book also has a nice edge colour. Lee likes sprayed edges apparently, and this is The Gilded Ones by Namina Fauna, and this is a new addition to my TBR. I recently got this in a fairy loot box. This one, I'm really sorry, actually isn't out until April of next year, but I'll be really happy to do an early review of this one for you. And this follows a character who is undergoing a blood ceremony to determine whether or not she can become a part of her village now that she's an adult, or it will tell her that she's a demon. So it'll be one or the other, and I guess we'll find out. My guess is that she's going to be a demon, but we'll find out together. So that's the TBR for this video. So we have The Gilded Ones, Children of Time, Alex in Wonderland, The Travelling Cat Chronicles, and Spinning Silver. This is a really, really good TBR actually, because we have a retelling, magical realism, contemporary romance, hard sci-fi, and young adult fantasy. So I think he's done a pretty good job actually, and I'm really looking forward to reading all of these books. Okay, it is now the 3rd of August and I am diving into this reading challenge because I just finished my last read last night, and I've only been able to find audiobooks for a couple of these through my library. Scribd doesn't have any of them, which Scribd has been a little bit not so great recently. I don't know what's going on with them, but the two that I was able to get audiobooks for were The Travelling Cat Chronicles and by Hiro Arakawa, and Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. So I'm going to start off with The Travelling Cat Chronicles just because it's a little bit shorter, and the book that I just finished reading was a longer epic fantasy that was a little bit more in depth. So I'm going to start off with this one today. The audiobook is not very long at all, just under 6 hours, which at my listening speed is 3 hours, so I shouldn't have any problem with finishing this one up today. The others, The Gilded Ones doesn't have an audiobook yet because it's not technically out until spring of next year. Alex in Wonderland doesn't have an audiobook, and Children of Time has an audiobook that is available on Audible, and I think that I probably will get the audiobook for it just to help myself with the content, because otherwise I might really struggle with that one. And I think it's quite sort of heavy sci-fi as well, which is a genre I can struggle with sometimes, so I think I will go ahead and get the audiobook for that. But I'm first going to read The Travelling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arakawa, and I am really interested to see how this one goes because I think it's a bit sort of contemporary magical realism in style, I think. So yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how I get on with it, and I'm going to go ahead and pick a tarot card to read this one with. Actually, I might use my oracle, my moon oracle deck. That feels appropriate for some reason. So I have my cards here. Let me change the camera angle actually. Hold Your Vision, Fixed Moon. These cards are so pretty. So that's the card I'm going to be using as a bookmark for this particular read. Let's see what the little booklet says. Okay, so this card has two interpretations. The first is that you need to stand firm in whatever situation you're in, i.e. stick to this book, I guess. And the second is that you are feeling stuck and you're being stubborn. So try to not be stubborn. So it's an interesting card to draw for a book. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start this one in a little while. It's my lunch break, so I'm going to eat something and then I'll start reading. And hopefully I will update you later today with my thoughts. Okay, so I did finish reading The Travelling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawa. I didn't think it would take me very long. It's a very short book and it's a very sweet book and it's a very emotional book. It is actually multiple perspective, so the main perspective is Nana, who is a cat, and he, at the beginning of the story, is a stray cat, and then Satoru is the human that adopts him, and so we get a little bit of Satoru's perspective, and I won't tell you why, but Satoru and Nana go on various trips to visit some of Satoru's friends from when he was growing up, and he introduces them to Nana and introduces Nana to them, and we get a little bit of the perspectives of the friends, and we get some of Satoru's backstory, and it's a very short, very quick read. I do definitely recommend it. It is really, really sweet, like I said, and really emotional, like I said, as I find all books with animals or films with animals in them to be. It didn't completely destroy me, but yeah, there were some sad bits, so be aware of that. Because it's quite short, it's a little bit difficult to talk about beyond that, so I don't think I will say anything else at this point about this one, but I did enjoy reading it and I do recommend it. I'm going to move on to something light-hearted and happy, I think. So I think I'm going to pick up Alice in Wonderland next as my next read, because this should be a fun coming out YA, young YA story. So I'm looking forward to reading this one, and I guess I need to pick a bookmark for this one too, so let's do that. Okay, so because the cover of this is super bright and fun and happy, I think I'm going to use my Mystic Mondays tarot deck, which from the box you may not be able to tell. If you haven't seen, I do have a tarot deck collection video live on my channel now, and it does include flip throughs of all my decks, so you can see them in more detail if you would like to. But the Mystic Mondays tarot is very bright and colourful, which is what I like about it. I also love these holographic edges, very, very pretty. So let me give these a bit of a shuffle. Okay, one has fallen out, so that's the one I will go with. It's this beautiful tiger pattern card, which is strength. So that's really lovely, and I will just check and see what the booklet has to say about it. Strength is not only a card of physical strength, but often points to inner strength. So that's really interesting for a coming out story, I think, and I think it looks pretty good with this book. So this is going to be my bookmark. It's currently nearly 9:30, so I don't think I'm going to start this today. I might read like a chapter, but I went to bed at 2 AM. I'm not even going to say last night, this morning, because I was finishing my last book, and then I just didn't sleep very long, so I am pretty tired. So I might just watch a little bit of BookTube right now and then go to bed and then start in on this morning. But I feel like I've started off this reading challenge to a good start because I finished a whole book this evening. So hopefully that will set a good tone for this particular readathon. This book isn't especially long either, and like I said, it's at the younger end of YA, so hopefully it should be a fairly quick and easy read. It's just under 400 pages, but the font is reasonably large, the margins are reasonably large, so hopefully it should be a nice easy one. And then I think, having got 2 easy ones out of the way, I might have to dive into the slightly more difficult option next, but we'll see. I have now finished reading Alice in Wonderland. I stayed up until way too late last night, 1 AM to be precise, finishing this one, but I absolutely loved it. This book was so much fun. It was absolutely hilarious, like the whole way through. I was actually in stitches at some points, and I don't think the humour wouldn't be for everyone, okay? It's very dry, crass kind of humour, which usually isn't my thing, but for some reason I found it hilarious. And it's also a really, really sweet story. So we follow Alex, funnily enough, who is a very awkward gay teenage boy whose stepmom wants him to get a job over the summer because his friends are going away without him. So he gets a job at Wonderland, which is an amusement arcade, and he, like I said, he's a very awkward person, so all sorts of things go wrong. There's also this mystery element to the storyline. It's very character driven, which of course works for me, and it was just a thoroughly enjoyable read. It was very quick and easy. Like I mentioned before, it's quite short and the font is quite big and the margins are quite big and the spacing is quite big, so it's not a huge endeavour to read it, but I highly recommend it if you just want a fun, light read that, you know, it doesn't deal with any massively important themes or anything like that. It's just a really sweet story, and it was just what I needed, actually. I needed something like this just when I read it, so I'm really glad that I did. Next up, I'm a little bit nervous about this, but I'm going to pick up Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky next, which, yeah, I'm nervous. I'm definitely nervous to read this one. It's quite long, it's 600 pages, so it will probably take a little bit of time, but I am going to go ahead and get the audiobook from Audible because I do think I'm going to need it to help me get through this one, just because of my own, you know, terror. even at the word, okay? So it's 16 hours or 16 and a half hours long, so actually not too bad. It'll take me about 8 hours to read it because I listen at 2 times speed, and depending on the narrator, since I'll be following along, I might be able to bump up the speed even more than that, so it won't take that long, but it will take a couple of days at least, which again makes me a little bit nervous because, well, I guess we'll just see how it goes, but I will be ready to go ahead and DNF this one if it's going to cause me anxiety. I'm not going to push myself to read a book that's going to make me stressed. So if that happens, I will ask Lee to pick a different book and I will read that. But hopefully, I mean, I've heard lots of really great things about this book, and I've heard even from other people who are scared of spiders that it was actually a really enjoyable read and it didn't stress them out too much. But I guess I'll just have to see how I get on with it, and if I do start to feel anxious or I feel like I need to put it down, then I will, and I'll ask Lee to pick something else. Like I said, I'm not gonna give myself anxiety to read a book, and that's a message. I think I'm really bad for DNFing things, but I'm gonna try and practice what I preach in that, you know, there are so many books that I want to read, so many books on my shelves that I want to read, that I don't want to waste my time reading stuff that I'm not enjoying or that's stressing me out for some reason. So I'm going to try and be a bit kinder to myself in that way, and I'm ready to DNF this if I have to. I don't want to DNF it. I'm not like setting myself up to fail or anything, but I'm telling myself in advance that it's okay if I can't read it. And yeah, so I'm going to start this one today, or wish me luck, although by the time you see this I will already have read it, hopefully. So it's so hot in the UK right now. It's very, very strange. Okay, it's now, what day is it? It's Saturday in the afternoon, and I did finish Children of Time yesterday, so I didn't take very long to read this, just over 24 hours, so I didn't really update you in the middle, but I didn't have to DNF it, so that is a win. This one was actually really enjoyable, and I listened to the audiobook. I didn't follow along too much because I actually didn't want to be too immersed in the story, but luckily I'm not a very visual reader anyway, which I think definitely helped me. With this one, I think if I was a more visual reader I would have really struggled with it, but it's a really interesting story. I don't want to say too much about it more than what I've already said, because I feel like being confused and piecing it together is half the point of the story, but it is quite sciencey. It's definitely adult sci-fi. It's probably within the hard sci-fi category, and the more sciencey elements were a little bit tricky for me to follow at times, again because I'm not a very visual person. Sometimes I struggle to follow that kind of thing, but I did enjoy the story. There's a lot of time jumps in here, that's all I'll say, but I really liked those and I felt like those worked really well. I, like I said, was confused for a large portion of the story, but it's meant to be that way, and once things started to come together it was really, really interesting. I thought that it included some really interesting themes of religion and sexism, which I wasn't expecting, which were interesting, and I really liked the ending. I think that the ending could have gone in two directions. One of them I would have been happy with and the other one I wouldn't have been, and it went with the one that I was happy with, so I was really pleased about that. And overall I did surprisingly enjoy it, and I say surprisingly because I was scared of the content, as you know, and also it's hard adult sci-fi, which is a genre that I struggle with, but I did actually really, really enjoy this one. I think listening to the audiobook was a very, very good decision, because if I had had to read this just physically I think I would have struggled a lot more, not just with the spider content but also with the sciencey content, and I would have just been reading much more slowly. As it was, like I said, I managed to read this in just over 24 hours, so we can call this a success. Unexpectedly. Well done, Lee. So now it's time to move on to my next read, and I'm going to go with Spinning Silver next because I've borrowed the audiobook from the library and I do still have plenty of time left on it, but I do just like to start them with as much time left as possible just in case something happens. So I'm going to read and listen to this one. Next I'm going to choose a tarot card for this one. I didn't for Children of Time, but I'm going to for this one. So we're shuffling. This is my Shadowscapes tarot deck, which I don't think I've used in this particular reading challenge yet, I don't believe. These shuffle much easier than the other two sets that I have, in case that's something you're interested in knowing. I think it's because these are just generally a lot smaller. Okay, let's see what we got. We have the Chariot. These cards are so beautiful. The artwork on them is so detailed. It's really, really lovely. I am so warm. Oh my goodness. I'll just show you another one for the artwork because this one on the bottom is super colourful. Look how pretty. So the Chariot. Triumph over obstacles, achieving victory, focusing intent and will, establishing an identity, self-confidence, maintaining discipline, assuming the reins of power and authority, and driving with the unwavering certainty in a cause. So there you go. That's the card I am going to be using as a bookmark for Spinning Silver. The audiobook is just over 18 hours, I think, so at my reading speed that's 9, and it is quite a bit later in the day today. I think it's nearly 2 p.m, so I probably won't finish this one today. In fact, I can pretty much say with certainty that I won't finish this one today unless the narrator is really, really slow, in which case I might be able to turn it up more, which isn't outside the realms of possibility because this book is not as long as Children of Time was. Children of Time was exactly 600 pages and this one is only 466, so it's 140 pages shorter and the audiobook is 2 hours longer. So I don't know, maybe it will be really slow narration. I'll be able to bump it up, I don't know. I can report back if I remember, which I may not. And the last book after Spinning Silver is The Gilded Ones by Namina Fauna, and this one, I think that Spinning Silver is adult. It might be YA, but I think it might be adult, I'm not sure. This one is 412 pages and this one is definitely YA, so I'm not going to rule out the possibility of jumping between the two if I feel like binging Spinning Silver is too much, because I have binge read the last 3 books in this reading challenge and it might be that I start to feel the fatigue of doing that. I don't know for sure, I might not. We shall see. But now I am going to start Spinning Silver and I'm really excited because I've been wanting to read this book for ages. Hello! So it's now Tuesday. I haven't updated you for quite some time and I'm sorry about that. And I'm about to sit down and film a video, so I thought I would film an update clip first. I have my fan on in the background, so if you can hear that windy noise, that's what that is. It is hot. Really, really, really hot in London right now. It's 30 degrees centigrade in my flat at the moment, and it's so unusual, is what it is for London. But anyway, I have finished Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik, and I really enjoyed it. This ended up being multiple POV rather than dual POV, which I didn't expect, but I did really enjoy. And I listened to the audiobook and followed along for part of it, not all of it, and I really enjoyed the audiobook. I thought the audiobook was brilliant and really well done. The storyline itself was very intricate and things would start to slot together. There were lots of aha moments and the characters were really interesting. We went in a lot of directions because of those multiple POVs, so we were tackling lots of different problems in this world. It's very Russian inspired. It is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, so but not directly, you know, so that's just part of the story. And if you know the story of Rumpelstiltskin, you could pick out the little influences from that story into this one without it being a direct play-by-play of that story, which I thought was really good. And yeah, I really enjoyed this a lot more than I expected to. I've heard some very mixed things about Naomi Novik's works, and this is my first book by her. I do also have Temeraire, which I would like to read this month as well, but this was my first foray into Naomi Novik's work, and I really enjoyed it. I like the writing style. It was easy to follow without being overly simplistic, if that makes sense. So yeah, this was a winner, and this is the one that Lee picked because he thought that the synopsis sounded the most interesting, and it definitely was a really interesting and intricate storyline with still plenty of character focus. So now that I have finished that one, I am moving on to my final book for this reading challenge, which is The Gilded Ones by Namina Fauna, and I still feel really bad for reading this in a reading challenge because it's not available yet, but hopefully I will enjoy it and persuade you to pre-order it. So I've read the first chapter, so I'm only on page 20, and it's one of those books that starts on page 7 for some reason. I don't know why books do that. Anyway, this is written in a very simplistic writing style. It's very easy to follow so far. I'm only 20 pages in, but I can tell it's going to be a pretty fast read and a pretty easy read, which I'm glad about because my holiday is now over. I'm going back to work tomorrow, so I won't have as much time for reading, although I had actually a pretty busy weekend and didn't read as much as I wanted to. I had hoped that I would have finished this reading challenge by now, but that did not happen. But hopefully I will finish this in the next couple of days, and I will tell you more about it when I'm a bit further in. I have now finished reading The Gilded Ones by Namina Fauna, and I really enjoyed this one. It was really fun and easy to read and fast paced, and the characters were great. It is single perspective, so it is purely from the perspective of Dika. I think it's pronounced Dika, it might be Deka, I'm not sure, but it's purely from her perspective. But there are lots of really great characters that I really thoroughly enjoyed. I really enjoyed this world, I really loved the magic. It was very, okay, as you know, I'm not a visual reader, but this felt bright and colourful. So I don't see images, but I feel feelings, and one of the feelings I felt while reading this was bright and colourful, which isn't really a feeling, but hopefully you know what I mean. So my point is, I think if you're a visual reader, this will be lovely for you, because I feel like it was very lush and not overly descriptive, but still immersive in a way. And like I said, I really enjoyed the magic system, and the characters were great, and I'm really looking forward to the sequel. This is actually a series. I think it's going to be a trilogy, not sure on that, but I did really enjoy it, and I am definitely looking forward to the sequel, which I'm going to have to wait quite a while for, considering this one's not even technically out yet, which I again apologise for that, but I do recommend that you put this on your TBR, and if you can, pre-order it, because I'm pretty sure this is a debut novel, in which case, like, wow. Yes, it is. So this is Namina Forna's debut novel. So if you're able to pre-order it and it sounds interesting to you, then I would urge you to pre-order it, because it does really help authors when you pre-order, especially if it's their debut novel. And I honestly loved it. I thought it was brilliant. So in this reading challenge, I read The Gilded Ones, which I loved, Spinning Silver, which I loved, Children of Time, which I liked more than expected, and if it weren't for the spider content, I probably would have loved it, Alice in Wonderland, which I loved and was absolutely hilarious, and The Travelling Cat Chronicles, which was extremely emotional, but I also really, really enjoyed. So what have we learned from this reading challenge? Lee can pick pretty good books for me that I think I'm going to enjoy. And that's especially the case because he bought this one for me for my birthday this year on his own without looking. It wasn't on my radar, it wasn't on my TBR, it wasn't on my wish list. He just bought this off his own back. So although all the others were on my TBR shelf and so were already books that I was thinking I would enjoy, I think we can give Lee a pat on the back for this one. I think he did really, really well, and I really enjoyed reading all of these books. It took me a little bit longer than I would have liked because I got busy with work and with, you know, being with my family and stuff like that, but I really, really enjoyed this reading challenge, and hopefully you enjoyed this too. If you've read any of these, let me know what you thought of them. If you're going to put any of these on your TBR now, then let me know that too. And that's it for this one. Thank you so, so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more like this from me, then do think about hitting that subscribe button, and I hope to see you here again soon. Thanks. Bye.